Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome back to my third podcast, the third episode. I hope you guys have been enjoying the first two episodes. The first episode, as you've seen, is a bit of a shorter episode, just a bit of an intro. The second episode was a bit more in depth. I've started talking about success and goals, and it's kind of given me a bit sense of direction on where I want to take this podcast. But at the same time, I don't want to bind myself to one certain topic or one certain idea, because I feel like I can talk about anything. But because I do not want to talk about anything and everything, I've been, writing down some ideas and, writing down notes or writing down ideas which I want to talk about, so I'm not, waffling all episode, and so I make it more concise for you guys. So this episode, I'm going to be talking about living in Turkey, and I'm going to try and compare it a little bit with living in the UK. Now, a little bit of background about me. I was born in Lahore in Pakistan. I was there till I was about 5-6 years old, and then we moved back to England. So my parents were already in England. My older sister was born in England. My dad was born in England. My mum was not born in England. But so we moved back to England. I lived there till I was about 18, 19. I have been continuously living there. I've done my main school education there. Through those years, I've been traveling. I've traveled quite a lot, but obviously the most far wide places I've been to, Russia, America. Apart from that, really, I've just been, in my GCSE years, probably 8 till 11. I used to travel to Dubai a lot, and Pakistan even more. But yeah, travels to Pakistan have slowed down because of political unrest. I lost my grandparents, so that was one of the main reasons why we'd go to Pakistan. Obviously, we still have a lot of family there, but the main reason why we'd go is not there anymore. But yeah, now my parents have moved to Turkey, kind of. For those of you that know, no. For those of you that don't, it's difficult to explain. But anyway, I've been living in Turkey from January. It is now late July, nearly August. I'm going back to England in August. Took a couple months out, wedding in Pakistan. Went to England a bit in Ramadan, and once more. So I've been most of my year has been in Turkiye, sorry. But yeah, I'm gonna try and walk and talk you through the differences and the similarities between living in the UK and living in Turkey, what the people are like, etc., etc. So the main thing that gets me, or the main thing that I notice, is the level of content in people here compared to in the UK. Over here, I've noticed that people are quite content, with the little they have. So, for example, if you are working a job as a waiter here, it's nothing to be upset about, or it's nothing to think, it's not a very good job, my family are going to say this, people are going to say this. No, here it's more, I've got a job, I'm making money, I'm paying the bills, I'm having a good life. You'll see this. You'll go into a restaurant and the customer service will be quite good. And that's not just because, they're trained well. Yeah, they are trained well. But at the same time, they enjoy their job. So when someone enjoys their job, when someone's positive about their life and about their work, that positive energy gets spread onto you. So whereas in the UK, I'd feel like that is not always the case. Most definitely it's not always the case. If you are a waiter in the UK, I'm not saying being a waiter is a bad thing, but I'm comparing waiter in the UK and waiter in Turkey. A waiter in the UK would be, I'd rarely see a happy waiter in the UK. If you see a waiter in the UK, maybe it's because they're overworked or underpaid. You've got all these issues, but those are all exceptions. But the fact is that most waiters that I've seen in the UK aren't as happy, or definitely nowhere near as happy as waiters in Turkey. And the reasoning I'd give to justify this is because they're a lot less content with what they have. And elaborating on that, there's reasons for that, why people are less content. They link back to my last podcast when I say that people are always striving, etc. I'll get onto that later, but yeah, people aren't as rat race here. Like I said in the first episode, rat race. Here it's the idea of fun is very different. The idea of entertainment is very different. You know, for people here, sitting down, having a drink, whatever it is, with some food, some snacks, and just some nice company. That's a night out for these lot. Here, if you're here, you'll see people near my house. I live near a beach, so you'll see a lot of people on the beach at night time. Just literally, there's one cafe on the beach. Apart from that, the beach is all empty. No commercial things. So on the beach is just lying down on the beach, sitting down near the beach. My house is on a mountain as well, so we've got a lot of people that on the way to the top of the mountain, there'll be some spots where people can just park their cars, like an empty car slot. People will just sit, take a chair out, sit on their car and just watch the sunset, stuff like that. They'll just chill, put some music on and just chill. Whereas in England, I won't see that. I've not seen that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously I'm only going to speak on my personal experiences. Obviously facts and figures are there, happiness surveys, whatnot. But I'm saying on what I've seen, purely on what I've seen and from what I understand. So from what I understand, in England, the idea of concept is very different. The concept of fun is very different to the concept of fun or entertainment in Turkey. Nightlife here is not so big. Drinking culture, I would say there's a heavy drinking culture here, but it's not. The UK is known for people being heavy drinkers. Heavy drinkers. Like the UK have got good alcohol tolerance. Here, the most you'll see is a lot of people will be drinking beer, although it's not actually a Muslim country, it's a secular country. But obviously, it has a lot of Muslim roots. Majority of the country is Muslim. But a lot of people in my area, I live in quite a liberal area. It's a rural area as well. Low population, 50,000 people. Well, it's ironic because it's a very rural area, but I live right next to the airport. So, alcohol here, they drink a lot, but they don't drink heavy, if that makes sense for you. For them, it will just be, a little drink, have a chill. In England, it will be get hammered. So are you starting to see the difference, which I'm trying to show you guys? And with that, you might say, landscape and weather might have a role to play. For example, here, the landscape, the scenery is a lot more beautiful and the weather is a lot better. In the summers, it's hot and in the winters, it's cold. Whereas in England, it's cold, it's hot for about 2 weeks in the year. The rest of the year is windy, it's rainy, it's gloomy, it's miserable, it's cloudy. So obviously that does have a role to play. But for example, I've seen in Istanbul as well. In Istanbul, it's quite a busy city. The landscape there, there's a lot of history there, but there's not that much. There is a lot of landscape, but obviously compared to rural areas, there's not. But in Istanbul, it's going to link on to my next point. In Istanbul, there's a lot of this in Pakistan we call it like the scene of picnics and stuff. There's a lot of that in Istanbul as well. For example, I remember once there was a traffic jam. And Istanbul's massive city, nearly 20 million people. So obviously you can imagine the size, you can try and imagine the size of the traffic jams. If you haven't seen them, you don't know what I'm talking about. But just imagine a big traffic jam. And in this big traffic jam, we were sat in a taxi. This was a couple of years back. What happened was there was standstill traffic and it had been about 10 minutes. And we could tell that the traffic was not going anywhere. What we started seeing was people would just come out of their car. They'd have their picnic baskets ready. They'd have their chairs ready. They just sit on the central barrier. It's not a central barrier as in England where there's a motorway and there's just the barrier. There'll be like a patch of grass in between it, whatever. So they'll all just sit on there and just chill until the traffic starts moving. And it's amazing, this chill mindset, the mindset that they're always ready to just chill because they're always chilling. I feel like I'm waffling a bit, but my point is the same. People will just park up and have a picnic. In England, you'll never see that. Rarely you'll see that. People will spend hours just to prepare, just to go Peak District or something to have a picnic. I'll see maybe some people, no one will go to a local park and have a picnic. I've never seen that. Maybe, young people going out, to drink and stuff to a local park. But apart from that, it'll be national parks, Lime Park, Town Park, etc., Bruntwood Park, big parks. Where it's an actual day out. It's a full day out. Compared to here, it's really like I said, we've got the stuff. Let's do it. Let's start. Go. And getting back to my first point a bit, I mentioned, the discontent or the ungratefulness coupled with, or it's a mix of ungratefulness, uncontentness, and also the keep on striving, the striving mindset. And some of you might think that I'm being a bit hypocritical because in my last episode, when I was talking about goals and success, I mentioned that we've always got to keep striving and always got to keep moving forward. And yeah, I stick by my point 100%, because what you've got to remember is that just because you're always striving for something and just because you're always, focused on your next goal, doesn't mean that you have to be ungrateful, doesn't mean that you have to be discontent with your life. To elaborate on this, to give you an analogy, for example, if you're at the gym, I like using gym analogies because they're simple and most people have been to a gym, they can get them. If you've gone to a gym, yeah, you're doing 90 kg bench press, that's your PR, personal record. You spent a while, yeah? You're quite big, whatever. And after a bit, after a long time of struggle, maybe 2 weeks, whatever, I don't know, I've not lifted that much. You hit that 100 kg bench press and you'll feel glad, you'll feel happy, you'll feel content. But you know that the next goal is for you to hit 110 kg, however long that takes, that's your next goal, 110 kg. But hitting that 110 kg next, does that mean that you're ungrateful on the 100 kg that you just benched, that you just repped? Does that mean that you feel like, oh, forget about that, I did nothing, I'm on to the next one? No, you're still gonna sit back and appreciate that. Yeah, I did well. I passed my record, and I'm happy. I put in work. I wasn't at this level. I'm now at this level, and then you show your striving nature. You show your next move, your next goal. The two aren't mutually exclusive. So I think that I don't think this is true. Constantly striving for something and being ungrateful are two different things, and they're not mutually exclusive. Moving on to my next point, you've got to be grateful for the things that you achieve and the things that you have in life. So yeah, you've got to be grateful. For example, when you lift in the gym, you've got to be grateful that you hit that 100 kg, but you also have to recognize that you want to hit that next goal, that 110 kg. You've got to have that balance. Life is all about balance. You've got to be doing this, and then once you get this, you got to appreciate. And then at the same time, you want to do that. I'm not saying it's bad to strive, or it's bad to just sit back and be grateful. No, both of them are good. You have to balance each other out. You have to make it where you're at a nice niche, you're at a point in the middle where you can, grow, and sometimes you just got to sit back and enjoy the view. By that I mean sit back and just be grateful for what you've achieved. And this is where I disagree with the statement, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I disagree with that because I think there's always room for improvement. Just because something isn't broken doesn't mean that it doesn't need fixing. Yeah, it doesn't need fixing, but that doesn't mean it can't be improved. That doesn't mean, for example, if you have a factory, for example, making toothbrushes, whatever, and you're at 80% efficiency, you're making good profit margins. Just because you're not at zero, just because you're not at minus efficiency, just because it isn't broken, doesn't mean that you don't have that room for 20% improvement, does it not? Of course you do. You have that room to improve. You always have room to improve. So, on to my next point about differences between living in Turkey and the UK. Sorry, quick water break. My mouth is very dry. I'd say the living environment. Now, I'd say that the UK is mainly for finance purposes, for economic gain, and to better your economic circumstances. And it's got a high percentage of immigrants. Me, for example, I come from an immigrant family. My great granddad actually came here as a worker, and because the UK needed immigrants at that time for cheap labor, and there's a big influx. I know a lot of people who've come similar backgrounds, Pakistani, Indian, Bengali people, African people, Middle Eastern people, European people, for example, Polish people have been coming in quite recently. So, and that's all for economic gain. And you can't dispute that fact. It's not because the UK has nice sites or the UK has, the cliffs of Dover. It's purely because of economic gain. So people have migrated. It's economic migration. So I'd not say, I wouldn't say the UK is purely for economic gain. Obviously each country, everything has different things to benefit from, and everything has different things to not benefit from, as I said before. So the UK, I'd say one of the main things about the UK is it's very finance based, it's very economics based. Your mindset is very centered around making more money, making money. Whereas Turkiye, sorry, however, it's not. I'd say that Turkey is full of people who are a lot more relaxed, and they're not that centered around money. Linking with my first point, that's the difference. But I was meant to say that these two things, the two different things about the countries. The UK is very centered about finances, whereas Turkey is not. That's the difference. But the similar thing between them is that they both want to swap with each other. So people in the UK who are making a lot of money, or even if they're not making money, but they're centered around money, they're thinking about making money. You take someone who has some money. Now they're in the UK, so they've got what they wanted from the UK. They've got the money, the finance. What do they want now? They want better weather, because the UK doesn't have that. And they primarily want a better landscape, scenery, which the UK also doesn't have. So they want to go to countries such as Turkey, which has that. But Turkey does not have the economic might of the UK. Okay, now you look at Turkey. People have the landscape and the weather and the scenery, whatever, but they do not have the economic might. So they want to go to the UK for the economic power. Do you see the irony in this? Do you see the similarity? So both countries have two different things, two different mindsets, two different environments, completely different. But they both want to swap to be in the other environment. So mankind is ever grateful, because you can see that not every country has everything that you need. You've got to be able to take bits from places and from people that you like, and try and leave the bad things that you don't like. I said this before. It's like when you're eating a plate of biryani. Biryani is beautiful. It's one of the best dishes in the world. You've got to eat all the chawal and all the boti, but you've got to move that black pepper and ilaichi out of the way, fam. Sorry, you got a bit excited there. You have to move that out of the way, do you not? If you're not swallowing those. I know you're moving it out of the way. I've seen you all. You're all doing this. But yeah, I hope you see the irony in that. And but the thing is, the landscape here, man, it's really beautiful. Just now I was just at the beach maybe an hour ago on my own. The view of the stars alone, oof, it's to die for. The stars, the mountains, the beaches, the cliffs. If you haven't seen it, I can't really share my experience with you. I'll try and put up some pictures of stars that I just took now, and I got a bit of cosmic dust in there as well. But it might be because I'm living in a rural area, which is mainly for tourism, for landscape tourism, stuff like that, sea tourism, stuff like that, and because there's a lot of there's a lack of light pollution here, rural area, but there's still an airport. So on one side you've got airport lights, you can see the airport from the beach, and on the other side you have the abyss of the cosmos in front of you. And it's mad, because you'll be looking into the stars thinking, wow, stars, how far away are they? Is there life on other planets? Next thing you know, plane coming into land, disrupt your whole way of thinking, your whole train of thought. And yeah, I'll try and put up some pictures of stars now, or some pictures of the scenery. If you don't see them, you don't see them. I'm not good at editing. But yeah, on to my next point. I wanted to highlight this again, gratefulness. Okay, I'll start off. Today when I woke up at 11 o'clock, I was quite alarmed to hear that we had some refugees outside our house. My dad called me like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Oh, it's 11 o'clock. My family left late last night. They were awake. They left for the flight at 4. So I slept at about 1. Woke up at 4, like half awake while everyone's like packing and stuff, and then back to sleep at 11. I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just like woken up. Busy night." And he's like, come downstairs. We've got some people outside, have a look. I had a look outside the window and I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, not because, I'm not trying to be racist or something. I'm just like, I live literally, if you've been to my house or if you know where my house is on a mountain. Okay, and well, I don't live on the top of the mountain, but I live on quite bottom of the mountain, about 100 meters. There's about 8 houses. One of them is us, and there's another person which is on the completely other side. We don't really have contact because the road is different, etc. So about 2 people here. At the top of the mountain, there's about 10 houses. There's about 2 people living in those currently. So it's a very rural area. The population of my city is 48,000 when we came. It's probably about 50,000 max now. We've got airport, but there's nothing much to see here apart from the scenery. But it's not very tourism based, this area. This city. The state is, Mulla as a state, it's got Marmaris, Mulla, Fethiye, Ulu Deniz, stuff like that. It's full of it. But actually my city, all it's got is the airport. Because think about it, it was an area where there was nothing, so they had space to put an airport. It's in the middle of all the big cities that people come to visit. So yeah, sorry, back to my point. So I saw these refugees, and it was actually 2 women, probably in their mid-20s, late 20s, yeah, under 30. They both had a baby each, under 6 months each, yeah. Their husbands had been shot dead, okay, they're from the Congo, DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. And just a side point, my dad found them early in the morning. He was coming back from somewhere, and he picked them up because they were in the middle of the mountain. So there's 2 routes to get to town. There's one, around the airport, which is quite long, about 15 kilometers. And then there's through the mountain, which is about 3-4 kilometers, direct route, but obviously it's a dodgy road. Yeah, so through that route, dodgy road, mountains, not a house to be seen inside, no sign of civilization. He sees, this is Turkey, I'm not trying to be racist, but he sees 2 black people. And in my city, there is rarely any black people. Last year, sorry, I'm saying 3 years ago when I moved here, I didn't see a single black person. Last year, I maybe saw 1. This year, I've seen about 20, maybe 30. That's in the town center, the busiest part of the place. And I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just saying that's how it was. No one person, 1-2 people that I've seen, and then about 30-50 people. So it's still minuscule, the amount of people in the city. And my dad's just seen these lot walking through the mountain, and he's obviously confused. But obviously, there's not really, it's not a difficult explanation. They're refugees and they've come here looking for a better life. Well, that's what we thought. But actually what we found out was, we thought that they'd come straight from Congo. But what we found out was they were already living in Turkey. They were living in Izmir. And that place is located between Istanbul and Dalaman. Not directly, but on the road to Istanbul. It's about 4 hours from Istanbul, 4 hours from Dalaman. So what they had done was they had paid money to some guy to take them to Greece or to Europe for a better life. Economic migration, as I mentioned before. And what I don't know what to call this guy, this cursed individual, this evil-minded individual, I basically took him on a boat. Okay, Izmir is around here. Don't know how to show it to you, but okay, Izmir is safe, Izmir is here. Greece is there. Dalaman is here. Greece is closer, obviously, but it's not like you can just go to Greece and take 35 people. You had 35 people on the boat with him. You can't just take 35 people. Obviously, it's illegal and he wouldn't be allowed. It's still closer, yeah? So what he did was he went, let me drop him off to the city here. Not many people, they've not really seen black people before. They won't know what to do. They'll have to take him. So what he's done is passed his problem, which was he took money from all these people to get them to here, knowing that he can't take them, put them all the way here, just to make it worse for them. Their husbands have died, they've got no source of income, they've got 2 young babies to look after. One was 3 months old, the other one was about 5-6 months old. And they hadn't drank. When my dad saw them, they were both about to faint. Not even faint, they looked like they were about to die from exhaustion. They were going through it, and they hadn't eaten for days. They hadn't eaten or drunk for days. They must have had, probably about 10 litres of water between the 2 in the space of about 45 minutes. They were at our house for about an hour. So that's how much, like, it doesn't matter how much, you can drink, or how long you haven't ate for. If you haven't ate all day, you see this in Ramadan for the Muslims who fast. If you haven't eaten for 20 hours, it gets to breaking the fast time, iftar time, and you're full in 5 minutes. You'll have 3 bites and you're full. So, and you can't even, it's not like you can force yourself all the food that you missed. You can't do that. Your stomach can physically thingy. But imagine how hungry and mentally deprived, mentally, unwell not unwell, mentally exhausted they must have been to have drank that much water, about 20 cups each of big glasses of water. And, they were going through it. May Allah help them. And I don't really know what to say, because I don't want to say to you guys, oh, be grateful, you're not in this position, because I'm sure you've all heard that before. But I think, just sharing the story with you actually is enough to just say that, obviously it doesn't matter how many stories anyone shares with you. You can feel grateful you can feel, bad for a moment. You can feel grateful for that moment, but obviously it's about how your mindset changes in the long run. And I think that you should really appreciate the blessings you have. And I can't stress it enough that, God has given you all gifts. It doesn't matter how big or small, you could be worse off. And whenever I get too big-headed for myself, and I think, oh, I got to do this, I always think that I always remember to look down and not up. So don't look up. It kind of goes against my points before, but I don't think I think it's the way you interpret them. I think that yes, you should look down and not up, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that you can't go up. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't think you should be the one to think that, oh, I've got a Mercedes, or I need to get a Lambo. Oh, I wish I had that Lambo. No, you should be like, oh, I've got a Mercedes. That person has a bike, or that person doesn't have a car. Yeah, okay, you should look like that, but at the same time, you should be thinking, I need to earn more money to get to that higher position. That doesn't mean you should, feel bad that you're not in that higher position. You should feel bad that you're not doing better. But you should also feel content and grateful with the things you have, while you look at people lower down than you. And people don't realize how fortunate we actually are. I've read something a couple of years back. I don't have time to find it, but it was like, if you have electricity in your house, if you have water, if you have a fridge, if you have a TV, if you have a phone, a couple more things, if you have like a mode of transport that requires, an engine, a couple more things, you are like in the top 1% or even less than that of people. Because you got to remember, there's 8 billion, nearly 8 billion people in the world. Take out, 1/4 for kids under the age of 10, let's say. I'm not sure. But 6 billion people, for example, 6 billion well and able people, and you are in the top 1% of all of them. And yet we still focus on what we don't have. It's difficult for me, because I'm telling you to, try and do better. But I'm also telling you, be grateful for what you have. I understand that you might be feeling confused by what I'm saying, but I think that you will be able to get there in the end, and you'll be able to have that niche mindset where, yeah, you'll be grateful for what you have, but you'll also feel like you're not up to your potential. You are up to your potential, but you'll feel like you can achieve more. And you can do that without being ungrateful. And you can do that without being, disrespectful to someone else, or disrespectful to your own morals. But that's mainly what I had written down for this podcast today. I didn't want to keep it I didn't want to keep it too on one thing, read out from a note, because I feel like when I speak from the heart, I speak more truly and more true to myself. Although I feel like I may be waffling a bit more, going off the rails a little bit, I do feel like the information is more, what I want to say, not what I have written down from what I remember about someone telling me 5 years ago. Do you get what I'm saying? I have a bit of that. I'm not going to lie to you. I have notes. Not exactly notes. I have bullet points, which I remind myself to speak about, so I don't get off the rails. But apart from that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. And if it has been informative for you, if it has inspired you, or if it has, changed your thinking in any way, or allow you to perceive reality in a different way, guys, if you did like this video, please, like this video, subscribe, share this video with your friends, your family, your friends, anyone who'd be interested in it. And I'm not saying this for monetization gain exactly. Obviously, I would be appreciative if this channel ends up becoming monetized, etc., etc. But I really do feel like I can have a good impact on society as a whole and on the people around me and on my circle and on the mutual circle I have. So the circle of people that are in my circle. But yeah, please do message me if you enjoyed this podcast and take care. Assalamu alaikum.